Hi guys, welcome back to Transits and Tactics. So this is one of those transits I don't even want to talk about. It just hit me so hard. So if you have not been in control, if you have been, in a slump this past few days, it's absolutely normal. I think a lot of people are feeling it, and I know I'm not alone because I talk to clients and then people in my family. And you know what? It's almost finished as well, which is kind of good because we are experiencing the influence of gate 21, known as the gate of Hunter or Huntress, and it's all about control. Sometimes this gate is known as the gate of biting through, and it has this touch of heaviness to the energy. Um, there is, and also at the same time, I'm just going to go straight into the earth. The earth is in gate 48, and it's the gate of depths. But what happens with this gate, because it's a splenic gate, and with the spleen, we're always dealing with fears. This is a fear of inadequacy. So being out of control or feeling not that you're out of control, but just not feeling like you're fully in control, I would say, because there's a difference in these two feelings, can make you feel inadequate. And then what happens, and this was my experience, it's like feeding, it's like catch 22. One feeds into the other. You're feeling less and less in control because you're feeling more and more inadequate. And you can just get stuck in this negative spiral, downward spiral. So if that's the case, we just need to, I don't want to go obviously spill the private details of my life here, but I found the way out of it, and I found it through falling back into the balance. I think that I'm a big ambassador on every time when you're losing control. And, as a first line, I'm a 1-3 profile. So first line, it's not about controlling, but it's about security and stability. And so a little bit of I want to be in control of my situation because otherwise I will feel unsafe. It's a huge theme in my life in general. And I know that it's not a healthy place to be. The fear-driven life, even if you're designed for it, it's still not a healthy place. You have to find the balance. And the balance was the key word. And I think that this is exactly what helped me kind of turn this around. I can't say that I'm like all fine and ecstatic right now. Life is great. There's still this sense of maybe slightly kind of lack of control, but I think we're at the end of this transit. So there's more reflective, the sixth line kind of influences is happening right now. So we can just look back at it from the bird's eye view and say, okay, how do you get out of the negative? Now, first of all, one of the things I found is you have to understand what being in control and out of control actually means and how it manifests in real life, because it's really, how we exercise control can be showing very differently. It could be just acting out of character. For example, I found myself being very mean to people around me, and I'm not mean. I never say anything. I always care about how what I say will affect people in my life. Now, I don't care when I write content if somebody gets offended because, I'm expressing my truth. But in real face-to-face relationships, I find that this is really important. Take responsibility how what you say lands. And this week, this being in control manifested through being plain rude. And I knew I was, and it really surprised me. I was kind of looking at myself from a side. So this is one of those kind of things. How can you feel like if you're suddenly becoming mean, provocative, or maybe withdrawn, like very aloof? This is also how you're trying to be in control by not allowing others inside or near you, so this is very material life control. And material life is not just the money or abundance, it's also well-being, it's also your body. You could feel bad about how you look this week specifically. I know we have Venus in retrograde, which also can then in combination, create a turmoil, but there could be issues about your well-being, your health, your appearance, your self-image, all those kind of things. And sometimes losing yourself in a moment, I find, is also the way to deal with this feeling of lack of control. So I, for example, canceled everything on Tuesday and had a spa day with a friend. And it was such a lovely time. We just allowed ourselves to be in the moment and not worry about, and it was her birthday, so she was worried that on her birthday she has to make sure that, she invites guests and cooks. And I said, no, you have to live for yourself, because we have to sometimes just let go of controlling everything and being in the flow. And I think that this is exactly where, where we are. So this is a bit of a shambolic overview and a very personal share, but I do know that sometimes a personal share is important because maybe that's what you needed to hear. So here I am. Anita, how are you doing this during this transit?
Yeah, that's such a true point. I'm going to mirror what you've said because what you've described with this energy 2145 is actually a channel, a leadership channel. So are you leading by withholding, by bullying? Are you leading by setting up that win-win? And to set up that win-win, you need to be in balance. You need to be in that place where you're composed and centered and grounded. So, and to do that, of course, is different for everybody. But so with this energy, with the transits, I kind of want to give what human design gives us is kind of a bird's eye view of what we're experiencing day to day. The astrology forecasts, and by all means, listen to them. They're fantastic. They give us a broader overview, but this really helps you understand what's going on personally. And, at the moment, Mars and Venus are retrograde in the gate 36, along with the North Node and Saturn, right? The gate 36 is our crisis. Now, Juliette was describing crisis. Where are you out of control? Where are you feeling triggered? Are you trying to be certain, for example? Are things not working on the outside and you're not sure what to do next? So you're thrown into a level of crisis. You just have to turn on the news and see that the whole world is in crisis. It's not just us, right? But with these energies, Mars and Venus retrograde in this energy gate 36, what they're showing is that our future direction is based on how we evaluate and talk about our crisis, how we manage our crises in a way that we're not coming from stress, we're not coming from the fight or flight. So, my best example is the fireman doesn't jump into the fire. So the fireman sees the crisis, steps back, and evaluates what's going on, what's the best solution, dot, 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 right? For us, our crisis isn't as visible, or maybe it is, maybe it is. Our crisis is that we're triggered either through stress, through mind chatter, through wondering what the hell to do next. And when we're in stress, we move into fight or flight and we start making emotional decisions. People lose the lose connection that stress means that we're either in fear or anger. And with your design, fear is for the flight and avoidance, anger is for fight. So with your design, depending on your type, it's going to be anger, it's going to be frustration, it's going to be the bitterness. These are your indicators to tell you you're locked into the crisis here, you need to step back. Okay. And the reason is because when you're in these energies, you shut down your prosperity pathway. You do not, and that is your health, your wealth, your relationships, and how you enjoy your work or your business or your life. And instead, you're fighting with it. You're avoiding doing things you know you have to do, or you're fighting with them in another way, right? So it's really important to understand how the universe or the planets are guiding us into understanding um, that crisis often is the gateway to opportunity. And um, when for me as a personal thing, when I was younger, I used to work in a hospital environment, and when which was very, it was stressful. It was urgent. It was urgent as opposed to stressful. We had the specimens. I had to deal with them immediately, but I couldn't be in that state of urgency myself. I had to be in my expertise because when you make decisions from the urgency, from the fight or flight, you're overdoing things, you're overcompensating, you're overcomplicating, you're fighting with on one side. The other side you're avoiding, you're procrastinating, you're not doing anything, you're freezing. So moving from hospital work to my business, I didn't know a different work ethic. I didn't understand that as a projector, I was going to burn out in like 2 weeks if I continued that work pace, my essence pace. And yet, being that leader energy, it's the ability to know that your inner calm and composure is what brings control, because now you can see through the crap and you can see what actually needs to be dealt with, what crisis you need to run away from because it's not yours, what crisis you need to fix or not, and what crisis is actually an opportunity for. And you only see that when you are in that balanced
Mm.
energy, when you are composed. And one more thing I'll mention is Mars is still in Cancer. It's like trudging through Cancer for like how many? For since December, right? It's just trudging through. Mars doesn't like Cancer. It's emotional energy, but Cancer is emotional and victim in one end, but it's super intuitive in the other. So we're moving into a place where we're learning how to act through combined with our intuition. And you need to be composed and balanced to do that. And this is what I teach people. How to find your prosperous flow is learning how to find your balance and composure in a crisis. Because business is always changing and change is considered crisis, but actually it isn't if you look at it differently. So the universe is teaching us, hey guys, you can jump into that drama all you like. We all know the drama queens that love the drama. Or you can step back and assess it in a way that's smart and intuitive and navigate your solutions. Be available to your guidance when you're in that composure, because in stress you can't hear your guidance. It gets gobbled up with all the overactivity, or it's funny. So that's this energy this week. The gate 21 is, am I controlling? And actually the serenity prayer comes to mind. Let me know what I can control and let me let go what I can't. That prayer to me is so important, because that's what this gate is all about. Where are you trying to control everything because you're feeling afraid, and where are inadequate, and where do you need to step back and let people do their own thing?
I love it. It's actually a great, great lesson. And I know it's very controversial right now, the whole Mel Robbins with her Let Them Theory book. And I'm not going to go into details. You can Google what the controversy is about. But the Let Them Theory, whether it smells or not, it's a really, really good approach. It's exactly what you just said, Anita. There's a lot of things that we have no control over. So let them be. Let them sort themselves out, no matter how we want. I remember when I was reading that book, my daughter had this real bad anxiety period, and I really wanted to fix her. I really wanted to do something to help her. I'm a guide. People pay me money to guide them. Why can't my daughter open up to me and take my guidance? And I could really, really see how no, I couldn't. I was completely out of control. I could not fix her. And
Mm.
that was teaching me a lot. And this week as well, this, even though there's a turmoil and there's this feeling and it manifests itself in such a weird way that is, even making you feel even worse about yourself. And there's this catch 22, as I described with gate 48 as well. But also, it's a time to address this opportunity, like it's an opportunity to address the storm and say, how can you navigate this storm you're in so that you don't drown? And how
Mm.
can you find, because it's not always even coming to the balance itself. Maybe the balance is not such a keyword here, but it is, how do you navigate the waves in? And remember the 36 that you mentioned, 36 is an emotional wave, and it has a real horrible wave where it just builds up with expectations and then a sudden crash. And I have 35 in my throat in my design, so I constantly have this channel 36, 35, and these waves. And I already know by the way I feel during a day. I always look at the transit and there's some planet activated this channel. It's not a pleasant energy, but it's really important to stay in the now and let go of expectations, because it's the expectations that build up this whole excitement and then suddenly they crash, so watching that is really, really important. One more practical thing, and I know we're not really talking about that much. Well, I'm not talking about marketing and visibility, although I can for a little while. But first thing, don't shop. I hope you didn't shop too much this week. I hope you put things in the cart and then, online shopping cart, and then left and came back like I did, because you could overspend this when you're feeling out of control. Sometimes shopping is where we subconsciously exercise control, but then these things will arrive and, you probably don't need them, right? So I know I did a lot of online sort of window shopping and I added things to the cart. And I know in a few days I'll go back and most of those things I probably don't need. It was all emotional, impulsive. So one thing about the control is shopping. And so that also applies to courses, to coaches, to, books. I found myself for 30 minutes researching yet another human design book. And then I just looked around, looked at my shelves, and I have 4 books there I bought probably last month that I haven't even opened.
Mm.
And we've all been there, right? So
We,
it's good to
yeah,
know these kind of things. It's good to be
yeah,
aware of external influences that then, because you're feeling either out of control and inadequate, will make you exercise that control over through shopping. So I'm not saying, I mean, we're in business of, guiding other people. So we're not saying don't invest, but follow your strategy and authority. Follow your strategy and authority. Don't follow the emotions. Don't follow these, the feeling, you know, of controlling yourself. Because if we can sense that something's off when these energies take over us, it's actually, people ask me, how do you distinguish between following your strategy and let's say thinking? You always know when you're thinking about something because it comes with those, it's like there's a flavor, there's a vibe. Either it's out of logic or out of control or out of desperation that you don't know, or confusion. Those are the like flavors of the thoughts. Whereas
yeah,
your authority, it's always really calm, confident, or even when it is expanding, if you're sacral authority, it's still not the excitement that you feel through getting excited, right? And it's really good to discern because when you practice, that's why the human design experiment is called an experiment, because it's an experiment in observation. So when you start over time observing yourself, I'm not saying you will never make, a decision out of your mind, that's fine, but you will know when you're why what is behind these decisions. And yes,
yeah,
I was shopping, as I said, online. I knew exactly that I am doing this out of a wrong, my authority wasn't saying yes. I just wanted those things, and yeah, my strategies don't pay for them when you feel like this. Then you wait
that's
and see, and
so
then
true. Yeah, yeah, that is so true because what you're describing is don't make an emotional decision.
yeah,
If you're
exactly.
emotional, if you're in fight, if you're in flight, if you're in blame, if you're in shame, don't make the decision at that point in time. That's the emotional decision is a reaction to the situation rather than responding from your expertise. I remember teaching guys in corporate how to manage the crisis without the stress. And really, it was describing we're not stupid. It's not that we're stupid, it's that we never knew or understood how stress could impact our decision because there's fear or anger involved, emotion involved. And like what was really funny about it was what happens is you're coming from reaction rather than from your expertise. So your full expertise isn't talking, fear is talking. And so making the decision from that, and this is where human design helps us. You know what your triggers are. You know what you'll do. You know how you start thinking when you're stressed. You know how you act when you're stressed. Juliette described it perfectly. You react. You go to the internet and you buy something out there instead of calming down and go inside for your guidance because the quiet knowing is what you understand. And the beauty of it is that you feel so much more adequate and accomplished when you come from your expertise rather than reaction, rather than the fear or the emotional energy. You feel more because you know your stuff.
Yeah.
And if you don't, you know where to find it, right? It's not like you're not open to learning. You know your stuff. And with coaching, it's through the relationship that we actually learn the most. Because if someone brings up a question that we haven't thought before, we go, "Oh, I know just where to find that answer," or I'll tune into my guidance to see what the best way to do that is, rather than trying to give you an answer that's going to send you another goose chase because I need to know. I need to
Yeah.
be in control, right? So it's really cool energy, like to learn how to manage, but make sure that if you don't know your human design, go and look into it and see what triggers you, because what might trigger me will be very different to what will trigger Juliette.
That's true.
And just understanding that about yourself. I would say to my clients, like, take your top three, what your mind does, what your emotional intelligence is, and maybe how you respond in stress, and you will know, you'll just be able to say, oh, I'm doing it again.
Oh yeah, that's what it's all about. The awareness is that you observe yourself and then you already start recognizing your patterns. And that is power. And that is being in control. You
Yes.
know, my tip with out of control times is don't make any decisions in that time. Because whether I am splenic, I'm meant to be in the moment, in my decisions. And yes, sometimes I do know, but I also observed over the course of my life that when you're in, for example, this period that I described, and it was affecting me, it was affecting me. I was emotional as well, although I'm naturally by design, I'm not really emotional person. And there was so many things. You just have to wait it out. You just have to let it pass. This is like it is like a storm, and all you have to do is hold on to your raft because nothing else you can do. If you try and do something, you can turn over, and then that's the end of the game, right? Wait it out and see how you can come to balance. If you're having a turmoil, I don't know, in your business and you're just feeling out of control, not that anything happened, but we often go through these periods and we're like, oh my God, it's either you're feeling like nobody cares, even though it's not factually right, but these emotional feelings, just close your laptop, switch off everything, put your phone on flight mode, go do something for yourself. The world will wait until you're ready. Trust me, you're not going to miss out on anything, right? Somebody said, left a comment on Instagram and you didn't like it. Just close the computer and go and enjoy yourself and forget about it. We get too drawn into this game and it's all an illusion. It's not real. Even if you take 2 weeks for yourself, you're not going to miss out on anything. Well, obviously, unless you created a launch and this is in the middle of your launch, then you can't do it. Obviously, don't be literal with what I'm saying. But what I'm trying to promote here is putting yourself first and making sure that you step back from the drama that we were discussing. And this is where you can start regaining, if not the control, then the sense of balance. This is how the balance comes into this. So even hard periods like this, you can see them as really good lessons, because asking yourself, okay, why am I like this, first of all, rather than being reactive, ask yourself what's going on, analyze, and then how can we make it better? How can we tweak it? How can we create connection when the disconnect happened? Where you focus on, you will attract more of this. And I
Exactly.
think right now it's even more important, that we have this solar maximum 2025. There's a lot of activity going on. The manifestation is almost instant. So where you focus on, you will attract more of it. So focus on the balance, focus on yourself, focus on being whole, focus on creating, focus on going within, because trust me, that's where the magic and the magnetism happens. It doesn't happen somewhere out there. It's always within. And then just let it unfold. Just out of like, let go of that control that you are so worried of losing. And trust me, it does shift. It does shift quite swiftly. So all is well.
Yeah.
Guys, we will see you in the next transit. Hopefully it will be a better one. I mean, after the drama, we have to rest, right? But we will have to wait and see. So we will see you then. And until then, take care.